A young girl sits in the market with her father. They are selling the last valuable items their family owns, so that they may survive. Parvana wishes they didn't have to sell her dress. They continue her studies. Her father asks her to tell him about the Silk Road. She doesn't remember, so he teaches her in the form of a story. Storytelling runs far back in the history of their people, since before they were Parthia and Khorasan. South of the Hindu Kush Mountains, their land used to be the petrified skeleton of a monster. But this was Ariana, the land of honor and nobility, a pathway to anywhere. Their people began studying the stars, which helped them to find order amidst the chaos. They became scientists, philosophers, and storytellers. But as borders were defined and redefined over thousands of years, mighty rulers rose up. Cyrus the Great of Persia, Alexander the Great of Macedon, the Mauryan Empire, Genghis Khan, and so on. Each time there was bloodshed and survivors, forming a never-ending pattern. When he was young, he knew what peace felt like. Children went to school, women went to university, and all empires forgot about them for a while. Suddenly, there was war and uncertainty. They looked to those that could restore order, but it would come at a great cost. He reminds Parvana that life is change. He asks her another question, but before she can fully answer, she shoos a dog away from their belongings. It draws attention from an angry and bitter man. He tells her father she should be sent home, but he refuses because he needs her help. As it turns out, Parvana's father used to teach this boy, and they fought in the same war together, but he's joined the Taliban now. The obnoxious boy says he'll be looking for a wife soon, and she looks just about the right age. Her father argues that she's promised to someone else, so the boy retaliates by saying she should cover herself. The father suggests he stop looking at her, so the boy threatens to have him eliminated. Although she isn't really getting married and is still just a child, she believes she's too old for stories and doesn't see the point anymore. Her father doesn't want her to grow up so quickly, so he tells her they might not have to sell her dress after all. At home, he offers to tell a story after dinner so they can all escape the pressures of life for a bit. While the sisters argue, the husband asks his wife how she is doing, and she says better now that he's there. As dinner gets underway, Parvana is told to apologize for saying her sister's mole looks like a raisin, but she doesn't want to. Suddenly, there's banging on the door, along with a warning for any women present to cover themselves. The boy from the market enters, claiming that the father is an enemy of Islam, with forbidden books he uses to teach women. Ignoring their objections, the father is forcefully taken to prison. Parvana wants to keep the light on in case her father is released, and needs to find his way home. Her mother tells her he can't return without his staff. Her older sister says their mother has enough to worry about, and she needs to sleep. The next morning, her mother says they are going to the prison to protest her father's capture. The man in his market stand gives them directions, but knows they are bound to be caught. When her mother is stopped and hardly given a chance to explain, Parvana squeezes through a gate to retrieve pieces of her father's photograph. Her mother is beaten before being warned that if she leaves her home again, she will be arrested. Parvana leads her weak mother's home, where she collapses with her youngest. When they run out of water, Parvana leaves to get more. While pulling up the bucket, a young boy runs by, telling her to run too, otherwise they'll see her. She pulls it up as fast as she can, but they find her and ask which way the boy went. She only runs as fast as she can to get back home. To soothe her little brother, she tells him a story about happy, singing, dancing, and feasting people. One boy, in particular, is extremely happy, but an evil elephant king and jaguars suddenly descended upon them to steal the most precious thing in the whole village: the seeds for next year's crop. She gets loud playing with her little brother, but it's nice to hear happy noises in the home. The eldest encourages their mother to eat, and she tells Parvana they are out of food. She offers to go to the market. The salesman refuses to sell to her because her father should be with her. She says he's been taken, but he only apologizes, saying maybe she can come back later. While asking another vendor if she can buy something, the group of boys from before calling her out, and she only narrowly escapes, losing the bag with money. Her older sister brings up the idea of writing to a relative for help, but Parvana knows they need food now. The next day, she decides what she must do. Her sister helps her to cut her hair and forge a disguise to become a boy. Even though the shopkeepers make fun of him, she is thrilled because she has sold what she needs. In the market, she makes eye contact with another boy, who demands to know where he knows her from. When he calls her by name, she panics, but is relieved to find it's her friend from school, also pretending to be a boy. Shazia warns her that she needs to come up with a fake name so she doesn't hesitate next time. The family praises to God for her return. Since she's a boy, she's become invisible to the others, and it's a refreshing change. Her baby brother Zaki wants her to continue the story from earlier. The villagers at the base of Hindu Kush mountain cry bitter tears because they don't know what to do without their precious seeds. Without them, they will not have a harvest next year. The boy doesn't cry, but looks toward the mountain and shouts that he is not afraid. Well, maybe he was a little. Nevertheless, he tells the villagers he will get back the bag of seeds from the evil elephant king and jaguars. The next day, Parvana says they should free Papa from prison since she's a boy now. Her mother says it's not that simple, and her sister pleads with her to stop upsetting their mom. She leaves in a huff and finds another mother and daughter being terrorized in their time of need. As a boy, she roams the market until she finds her friend disguised as Diliwar. While speaking with her, she decides her boy's name will be Oddish, even though it's not normally a name. It means fire and suits her well. Her friend encourages her, saying that now she's a boy, she can go anywhere she pleases. Shazia teaches Parvana to act well and believe her lie, so others will believe it too. They pretend to be cleaners in the area. Parvana tells her she needs to see her father. Shazia says it's not likely to happen, unless she could bribe her way to him. In the market, Oddish calls out, anything written, anything read, because reading and writing is a money-making service. When a man asks where her father is, she tells him he went to Mazar-e-Sharif and that she's his nephew. The man gives her a letter to read, addressed to Razak. It is a kind letter with devastating news. Razak's wife, Hala, was eliminated by a landmine on the way to her sister's wedding. He is devastated and leaves her. Parvana returns home and gives Zaki a piece of candy. Before bed, she continues her story. The young boy is traveling on the Hindu Kush mountain, about to face the Elephant King when he senses that something is following him. He is chased until he can't run anymore, and tumbles down, down, down. The next morning, Parvana's mother writes a letter to a distant cousin, informing him of her husband's arrest. Since they are in a desperate situation and need help, she asks him to consider her oldest daughter as a bride for his son. They must leave Kabul for any chance of survival. In the market, Parvana sells her dress for 1,000 Afghani. Her friend tells her that might be enough for a bribe to see her father. Then Shazia tells Parvana about her dream to live by the sea. She's acquired a nice sum of money to leave, and looks forward to forgetting about her abusive father. Parvana only returns home to drop off raisins and naan, even though her sister tries to stop her from going to prison. She is met at the gate by an angry, unwilling man. He only comes out to hit her in the stomach, ignoring her bribe. Her mother continues the story of the boy after he tumbled down. A magic drum starts beating so beautifully that he finds it within himself to rise. He finds an ancient woman who knows he must be on a quest, so she asks him what he seeks. He tells her he needs to defeat the Elephant King, and although she thinks he's crazy for trying, she tells him what he needs to find in order to succeed. Something that shines, something that ensnares, and something that soothes. He sets off on his journey heading east per the ancient woman's directions, but something begins to follow him again, and just like before, he cannot face it. Parvana's friend tells her the bribe was probably too small, but she knows somewhere they can work and get paid well. The man hires them, but after the job's completion, says they aren't very strong. He pays them, but refuses to give them a ride back to town as promised. Parvana's friend asks her about her older brother, who used to carry her on his shoulders to school. She says his name was Suleiman, but he passed away. She isn't sure how, because their mother doesn't speak of it. Shazia eases her mind with a postcard of super blue water. In the market, the sad Razak returns, offering to pay her for reading the bad news to him. She declines, feeling pity. He sits down and asks her to show him where it says his wife's name Hala in the letter. She points it out, and he tells her it means the bright outline around the moon. He gets up to leave, but before he does, he gives Parvana more than enough money for her services. Parvana continues telling the story of the boy to Zaki. He continues running from his pursuer until he hides himself. He spots an old woman trying to milk a goat, despite her sore back. The boy feels pity, tells her to rest, and finishes milking the goat for her. The old woman shares the milk with him, and he compliments her goat, so she gives him a mirror as a token of appreciation. However, it scares him to see what's been pursuing him. Shazia says she needs to find a way to Peshawar. She knows of a beach where tourists are very rich and would buy the special blue stones she collects. She wants Parvana to join her, and she will once she finds her papa. She bargains with the market seller and makes him smile. She teaches Razak to write, giving him helpful feedback. Before he leaves, she feels like she knows him well enough to admit that she lied. Her uncle didn't go to Mazar-e-Sharif, he was taken to prison, although he did nothing wrong. The man asks which prison, and she tells him Poli-Charkai. He tells her to go to the prison on Wednesday to ask for Roshan, his cousin, who will help if he can. Parvana and Shazia work hard, until she collapses and admits she'll be an old woman by the time she gets to the sea. Parvana tells her to rest while she tells a story. Before she gets into it, the Taliban boy calls the two of them over urgently. They are teased for how feeble they are, and the elders wonder if they should arm wrestle to prove they're strong enough to work. The boy grabs Parvana's face and recognizes her. Before he announces it, she knocks him over the head and takes off. He grabs a gun, chasing the girls as they run for their lives. They climb into a small hole, but his friends call after him, saying they've been given new orders and must depart immediately. He is clearly frustrated, claiming to know who Parvana is before shooting his gun and leaving. Parvana tells Shazia she hit him because he was one of the boys that took her father. Since they feel much safer in Shazia's secret place, Parvana continues the story. She starts by saying the boy was cold, under a bright sun that offered no warmth. When he looks in the mirror, Shazia says it was actually an old horse following him, so Parvana plays along. A farmer is upset with the boy for stealing his hay to feed the old horse, calling it a waste. So he throws him into a well and demands he brings up the emeralds to pay him back for the hay. Shazia asks the boy's name, so Parvana names him Suleiman. Shazia continues the story that he encountered 3 skeletons and called for help. So the horse neighs with the voice of all the world's animals, causing the emeralds to fall and give him something to climb up. He asks the round man for a meal in return because he's hungry, but the man only throws a fishing net on him, telling him to catch his own food. It's exactly what the boy needs, something to ensnare. Ghosts of the well skeletons appear to harass the man for eliminating them. They continue their journey, but the horse is so old that he needs to rest. Suleiman leaves the horse to face the Elephant King and jaguars all on his own. She tells Shazia she can't wait to get to the prison the next day. At home, her mother tells her she must stay inside from now on, but she insists she can't. She's found work and knows they need her to do it to survive. Her mother gives her the news of her sister's arranged marriage in Mazar. Someone is going to come for them the day after tomorrow. She is terrified to leave without Papa, but tells her mother that if she lets her go see him and bring his walking stick, then she'll go with them and be a good sister and daughter. Her mother begs her not to go, but she insists she must do this before they leave permanently. Her sister hugs her goodbye. Parvana gives her friend the news of their departure. She says she needs more money for the bribe, so she can say goodbye to her father, but Shazia is very upset she's leaving and doesn't want to help at first. Parvana asks her to come with them, but she says she can't leave her father yet. Shazia gives her a parting gift, and Parvana tells her this isn't goodbye. They'll meet on the beach she spoke of 20 years from today, and she'll know it's her because Shazia will be selling the blue stones she talked about. Parvana's mother answers the door for her second cousin, who was sent from Mazar to retrieve them. He says they must leave immediately, but she says they didn't expect him so soon, so they must wait for her son to return. The man says they can't wait because war has begun. They are about to block the roads, so this is their last chance. They are forcefully taken from their house, with the man carrying Zaki and telling their mother she'll lose more than one child today if she doesn't get in the car. The car breaks down, and Parvana's mother knows this is the only chance they'll have at seeing her daughter again. When Parvana gets to the prison, no one will listen because a war has started. Razak tells her this, but Parvana is so desperate to know her father's whereabouts that she admits she's his daughter. He tells her to wait for his return, but if he's not back by sunset, she must run far, far away from there. She tells herself a story about Suleiman trying to help his people, even though he was running out of time. When the car starts again, the mother refuses to leave with her second cousin. As they argue, bombs are dropped a short distance away, and it disturbs Parvana, who is still waiting for the update on her father. As Razak walks to her father's cell, she pictures Suleiman fighting uphill with the things the ancient woman said he needed. Razak carries her father, claiming he's gone. Another man calls for him to stop, and he knows it'll be dark soon. Parvana sees Suleiman conquer the jaguars and knows she should run now, but refuses to give up waiting. Razak tries pleading with the man to look away and just let this one man go. He fires his gun. Parvana's mother tells the man she'll scream curses at him until her last breath. She demands he leaves and let them go. He calls her crazy and says she can pass away out there for all he cares. In Parvana's desperation, she continues imagining Suleiman and starts talking to him. She tells him to tell the Elephant King his story, because stories soothe, and that's the last thing the ancient woman said he would need to succeed. He explains that when he was alive, he picked up something off the road and it exploded. He says his mother was a writer, his father was a teacher, and his sisters always fought with each other. The Elephant King returns the bag of seeds to him, and there is singing, dancing, and rejoicing in his village. Razak returns her father to her and urges her to get home as fast as she can. At the same time, her mother, sister, and little brother make their way home. Parvana stops to tell her father a story under the stars.